just obviously terrific season. Couldn't be more proud of our players and staff for what we accomplished this year. And sometimes when you're in the thick of it, like we were there, you don't even step back and maybe realize how special it was. I joke with Tim. Tim tells you a lot of stats as they happen, whether it's whatever it is, 11 conference wins, or who knows, beating X number of ranked teams, or scoring more points on some Sunday than we've ever scored, or being really good on Valentine's Day. I don't remember if we lost this year or won. I can't remember. Some obscure stats, but there were some, really good accomplishments with this team. And the one thing I'm as proud of as any is, it was obviously a tremendous non-conference record for us. I think we were 11-1, and then to finish tied for third in the regular season of the ACC shows unbelievable consistency there, especially with Dante's injury. And then to go into the postseason, win a game in the ACC tournament, lose in the semifinals, and then again be consistent in the NCAA tournament. Hard to be good in all those areas all the time. And so I think our team showed an unbelievable consistency level, especially under a difficult situation with Dante's injury. So I couldn't be more proud of what this team accomplished. I thought we just played extremely well together. We're an unbelievably coachable group, and really unselfish team that got about everything they could out of their talent level. So very rewarding for all of us. Glad to see some of the accolades that some of our guys are gotten. Really excited for Bobby to be down there in San Antonio right now. And, so it was just a lot of fun this year. Questions?
You lose, obviously, the three seniors, but any idea on Eli, Shelton, Marquise?
Yeah, we're working on that now. Been talking to some of them this week, and hope to probably put something out next week with kind of where all three of them are and what they're going to do. We certainly want to support them like we've done with other guys through the years, and each individual case is a little bit different, and we've got to kind of work through it with them and figure out where it is with all of them. Obviously, two of them will be graduating. Marquise and Shelton will be graduates. Eli still has a little work to do, but those guys are graduating, and so we got to talk about all the options, and we're kind of working through it right now.
Coach, making the Sweet 16, you've got job security, the new facility, everything going your way right now. How much do you think all that will help you on the recruiting trail?
Yeah, I think we've had a lot of positive momentum, really, in recruiting the last several years. I just think that the people that have gotten to know our staff and players are really impressed by how we do things. I think the facility has given credibility to our pitch of Clemson wants to be good in basketball, and I think that was really necessary. So that's helped and resonated a lot with recruits and their families and different coaches. When they come see it, you can then see that it's not just lip service. They really do want to be good, and obviously that's been extremely beneficial. We've had a couple guys get drafted the last few years, so I think that always is significant just from the standpoint of young guys want that, and so individually if you can become an all-ACC player, you can be drafted into the NBA, you're playing in the best basketball league in the country, and if you can be successful in that, good things can happen for you personally. And then now the last piece was just showing that we could be, a high-level team. And I think we showed that this year with our performance all season long. And, certainly reaching the Sweet 16 is a tremendous accomplishment. You got to be playing really good basketball for a long time, and our guys did that. So I think we've kind of checked all the boxes of what you need to do to show that you can be successful, whether it's both as a team, as an individual. And there's a commitment by our university to be good in basketball. And, I think that all those things are really important. So I do think it's helping.
There was a report that you were going to start, that D-Rad wanted to sit down with you and try to get an extension done pretty soon. Do you anticipate that pretty quickly?
We've had a couple preliminary talks. I met with Graham yesterday for a while, and so I know that we're going to continue to do that, and I'll get with D-Rad soon. I would assume. But yeah, I mean, we've had conversations, and you know, we talk a lot throughout the season, and so you know, in every season, and so I know that that's all coming.
Is that something you'd like to get done here quickly?
Yeah, soon, but I don't think it's anything that you can do in a week. I mean, it's much more complicated than that, unfortunately, and that's why we have lawyers to help do all that. So I'm not smart enough. So you work through a few generalities and talk about some things, and we certainly are beginning to do that right now. Every year we're going to talk about things that went well, things that need to be better, things that I see that are good, things that I see that we need to improve, and they're going to do the same thing. I mean, that's just what we do after every season. And so we're kind of in the process of beginning that type of discussion. Obviously, it's, when a season ends, it's final in a lot of ways, but the program never stops. And so everything from figuring out who's still on your team to what you need to do in recruiting to scheduling games to who's still on your staff, what do you need to do with your staff, to guys have been traveling a lot to now we've missed a little bit of class. Where are we academically? I mean, there's, the merry-go-round doesn't ever really stop. Right now it's still going at a really fast speed. And I kind of had a conversation with our staff about that. Like I know human nature is to take a deep breath now and relax. We really don't have time for that. We got to stay on it for another 6 weeks. And that's really my message and what we're trying to do. And kind of along with that, the contract and all that stuff, that's not the most important things right now. So we'll deal with that as it comes.
Coach, the transfers played such a big part in your success this
Mm-hmm.
season. I know with some guys like Shelton, you already had the relationship
Yeah.
built up previously.
Sure.
But will you actively look to do that going forward, or is it just how things fall?
Yeah, I mean, it's a combination. I think we try to look at our team every year and figure out, where are we? What gives us a chance to be successful? Sometimes it's that year, but really, we don't want to compromise the program. We don't want to, compromise what the future could be, and so we have to kind of make decisions based on, a lot of factors. And you don't always know what everybody in your program's thinking every second too. So sometimes you get surprised, or sometimes things happen like a KJ McDaniel explodes on you, and all of a sudden you never planned on losing a guy like that, and then all of a sudden, wow, what just happened? And now he leaves you. It's hard. So there's a lot of things that go into it. You certainly plan to put a consistent product out there, but then other things arise and you got to make adjustments. So what I'm telling you is we'll probably have high school guys. We'll have an occasional transfer for certain when we think it's necessary. And some of it happens based on just relationships, like you mentioned with Shelton, and then other times, they're just you kind of just go after a guy like a Marquise Reed that just happens to go on the wire that you maybe feel really good about, and it works out. But, the one thing I would tell you, when we did that with those three guys, we kind of planned on that a little bit from the standpoint of we knew that was going to be a really hard year in Greenville. And so we kind of a little bit planned on that being a challenging season in some ways. And if we're going to – that was a pretty big risk to have three guys sitting out. That's three scholarship players that aren't playing. But we just thought it would really help us when we moved into the new building. For a couple of years, we thought we would be, really pretty good. And, but that's not easy to do all the time. And that year I thought it was really smart, and maybe it worked out here eventually. So it's kind of year by year with some of that.
Do you anticipate having any transfers as far as guys looking for playing time?
That could happen, absolutely. Like we're still working through all that with guys on our team right now. I mean, it's become it's college basketball is hard. Hard for players too sometimes. I mean, what we ask of these kids is a lot. I mean, our guys get this week off, and next week we'll be lifting and skill workouts, and it's right back to it. And I don't even know what next week's date would be, but think about that versus when you actually play a game next year in November, and everything in between to get ready, and then sometimes you don't get to play as much. So, yeah, I think there's a possibility that could happen. That could happen every year, though. I just think it's the nature of it now. It's sometimes that's why you need to have some transfers, is because you have guys that are sitting out that know they can't play. And so nobody's really worried about their feelings about playing that year. Those guys just focus on getting better and helping your team be better by being on the scout team. But it's hard to go, keep playing like that and working like that and then not playing as much as you want. So I don't know, but it could happen.
How, for you, compared to what Coach Sweeney has to do when players are thinking about going pro, I won't say it's an easier thing, but in the sense that they can come back now and they can go test the waters. How much does that help you guys to make sure they're doing the right thing?
What's hard about it, it's a scary feeling when you don't know your team. It's hard to prepare when you don't know your team. And how do you prepare for it? And we might lose them, we might not lose them, we might have them, we might not have them. When are we going to have them? If we lose them, who's out there? And what can we do? And we weren't planning on losing them. I mean, it's not as easy to just go, that's where the advantage Coach Sweeney would have if he were a basketball situation, or Duke has, or North Carolina has, is at the 11th hour, if you needed a guy, you could go jump into some recruiting situation at the 11th hour and maybe still get a really high-level player because of your name. It's just that's what is more challenging for us. And so it is more devastating to us in some ways when we lose really good players unexpectedly and you don't have somebody who's as prepared to step in. And I come back to KJ, that was a little bit devastating to us. Like, I thought that team was going to be big time that year because we had some of the same pieces fitting together. That was one of those teams when we went to the NIT Final Four where those guys were unbelievably motivated by that run and hungry, and the pieces and the camaraderie of the team were unbelievable, and it just fit. And so you're thinking next year, man, I can't wait to coach next year's team. And then, whatever KJ decides what he has to do, and it sets you back because we don't go get another KJ like that. Obviously, if you have more and more success, hopefully you can continue to recruit better, but there are still challenges that are hard to prepare for.
Do you feel like you're there now where you could jump in at the 11th hour with your name given what
I think we're better, but I don't know that we're there, to be honest with you. It would take, a special situation with a special kid. But there's no question, that we're in a better place.
Coach, what do you think Gabe's prospects are professionally? How much did he help himself out at the end of the season?
Helped himself a ton. The last 2 months of the season, just thought he played really, really well, especially here lately, last 2 to 3 weeks. He's got things he has to work on like everybody. He is a big, strong guy that can jump and shoot and make deep shots. So that's going to always be appealing. Can he make the NBA? I don't know. I mean, he still has development ahead of him, but he's a bright guy. He's a tough guy. He's a worker. Obviously there's some size things that'll be challenging for him, but you never know. I think he'll go out there and, he'll really compete. And at the very least, we already know that he's gained high-level interest from, very good overseas opportunities. And he's going to make a nice salary if he goes overseas, and he'll have a chance to be like a Casey Rivers or Terrell McIntyre that could go overseas and, come back. Clemson will be asking him for money.
Is that part of your, if you have a sales pitch with those three guys, is that part of it that, hey, you can bolster your stock?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you just watch, absolutely. We talk about that with those guys is if you just watch how much, Gabe's stock now versus what it was in November is two different people. And that's what a great senior year can do for you. And Gabe prepared hard for it and, got more opportunity and capitalized when he did. And obviously you almost saw his confidence I'm a big believer in that. Like your confidence taking you to another level. And I think you saw Gabe's confidence grow from November and December to all of a sudden in February and March, he thinks he's making every shot and mad at me if I say anything about any of them, but that's why he was playing so well, and then what grew off of that was the other parts of his game, driving the ball to the basket, making more plays in other ways because he's more comfortable, confident, aggressive. You know, so certainly we're talking to all guys about he's an unbelievable example of taking advantage of opportunity and what can really happen with your prospects should you take advantage of them.
With Sheldon's knee and the issues there.
Yeah.
Multiple surgeries, I'm guessing that's
Yeah, I think it's a factor. I think he's got to think about that. You know, but at the same time, I think there are, you know, again, we've talked about how structurally there's nothing wrong with it. So I think, you know, those are all conversations that we're having with him in terms of what that means. And I also, you know, we also talked to guys about, you know, as much as one of the reasons Jerron came back is Jerron enjoyed Clemson. Jerron enjoyed being a Clemson men's basketball player and what that meant and living here and playing in the ACC and the exposure that comes with that and, you know, playing in high-level games and just, you know, being a college student for another year. I mean, it's a great time in your life, and I think that it's hard for young people that age to really understand that until you're not here and go away for a few years and then come back, and your attitude probably changes a little bit on the obligations and difficulties of being a college student to what some difficulties are in real life and challenges and expectations. And so I know for a fact that was one of the things that kept Jerron here was he just didn't want to leave. I mean, he just really enjoyed his time here and wanted to continue to play college basketball. He loved playing in the ACC.
Despite some of the uncertainty, you said you were going through some evaluation.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you see as the future of the program?
Yeah. Well, I'd like to build on this, certainly, and think we have a great opportunity to continue to build. But I also know that, you know, everybody in our league is saying the same thing and everywhere else. And, you know, if they're not, that's when they're making coaching changes. And, you know, so we understand that it's a small margin. It really is. It's a small margin, whether it's winning close games or, you know, there's a fine line between being 7-11 and 11-7. It's not much different in terms of personnel and a couple of outcomes and a little bit of positive momentum and a couple of guys making a couple shots. And once you get to the tournament, good things can happen to anybody if you're playing well. And, you know, we showed that this year. And some other teams in our league who maybe didn't play quite as well in our league, you know, made Elite Eights and Sweet 16s as well. And, you know, it's because our league is just so good, and it's hard. And it prepares you that if you can just make it in the tournament, if you can get in the top 8 or 9 in our league and make the tournament, you can make a Final Four, you can make a deep run. But it's much more challenging than people think to get in the top 8 of the ACC. It is really hard because people have really good players and really get after it and commit. But having said that, I feel really good about where we are because of the things we talked about earlier with a commitment, with a facility, good players coming back, experience, and certainly trying to capitalize in recruiting on the success we've had with some individuals and also as a team.
Speaking of coaching changes with Chris Mack and Jeff Cable joining the ACC,
Yeah.
that makes the league just that much tougher.
Yeah, those guys are really good and will bring stability to those programs. You know, I coached against Jeff when I was at UNC Wilmington and he was at VCU. So we've coached against each other and known each other for a long time. You know, and I text with Chris several times a year back and forth, and we talk basketball some and known those guys for a long time at Xavier, back when I was at Wright State and when he was with Skip, and you know, just have a lot of respect for how both those guys coach and what they've done. They're going to be very good coaches in this league. I mean, so it's, you know, it'll be interesting to have some new guys there, but